SwayamPrabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Hello learners, welcome back to the course on AI in Human Resource Management. Today we move to the third lecture of the first module where we'll be looking at diversity. Many a time we have discussed diversity. Most of the behavioral courses like organizational behavioral course, etc. actually categorically delves into diversity. We have seen different types of diversity, not only the demographic one but also the cognitive one. Today we'll try to look into an integration where AI comes into diversity and how essentially we can leverage AI for diversity management. I'm Dr. Abraham Cyril Issac. I'm an assistant professor at the School of Business, Indian Institute of Technology, Guwahati. Now, to understand how we can leverage AI for diversity management, we have to understand first, what do you mean by diversity typically? When you look into diversity specifically, we should also understand what is diversity and how we can effectively manage diversity, and that's what my initial attempt would be. Then I'll be sliding down to AI and leveraging AI in diversity management. So let's quickly look into what do you mean by diversity management. The practice of fostering a diverse and inclusive workforce, typically by ensuring equal opportunities, of valuing different perspectives, by ensuring equal opportunities and valuing different perspectives. So whenever you look into an ad, sometimes you see equal opportunity employer. It is sort of a categorization, or it is sort of a testimony that my organization or this particular organization gives chance to everyone, and not only chance to everyone, it looks into everyone in a same way. So there is a uniformity. How it actually behaves, the organization as such behaves to every single individual. Let's look into that in detail. When you look into diversity specifically, as I mentioned, something that would be very critical would be this equal opportunity aspect. So when we are talking about equal opportunity, it is almost synonymous to diversity. And if I want to define diversity management, there cannot be a definition without looking into this equal opportunity. Diversity management is the strategic practice of creating, promoting, and maintaining a diverse workforce within an organization. So please understand, when I'm talking about diversity, I have to understand that I not only recruit people, but the onus is also on me that these people stay. There is talent, there is diversity of talent, and I am, as an organization, promoting and maintaining this diverse workforce. So it involves recognizing and valuing the differences among employees based on the race, ethnicity, sex, gender, sexual orientation, disability, cultural background, all these factors. So please do understand that you cannot claim that you are working in a diverse organization or there is diversity management as a top priority of the organization unless and until you get to these aims. When you are looking into key aspects of diversity management, quickly we'll understand what do you mean by inclusion. Inclusion is ensuring that all employees feel valued, respected, and able to contribute to the organization regardless of their background. So it's not mere bringing in a lot of people. Please do understand. Maybe you tend to get a feeling that more people from diverse background, your organization is an inclusive one. Please do not make that mistake. Ensuring that all employees are feeling valued, respected, and are able to contribute to the organization. This is what is critical when it comes to inclusion. When you look into equity, it is nothing but providing fair opportunity and access to resources for all employees, addressing any systemic biases that may actually hinder certain groups. There might be situations where some groups would not had the opportunity to actually learn something or get the proficiency in something. So there should not be any discrimination towards that particular segment. When you look into cultural competency, it is all about developing awareness and understanding of diverse cultural perspectives. So not only culture, diverse cultural perspectives, enhancing interpersonal communication and collaboration. When you talk about retention, it is nothing but implementing strategies to retain all these diverse talent which I was just mentioning before, ensuring a very supportive environment that fosters growth and development. When you look into policy development, it is nothing but having policies, establishing policies and practices that promote diversity and inclusion. It could be anything ranging from, let's say, recruitment strategies to training programs to anti discrimination measures. All these things come under policy development. We have continuous improvement, what we in a Japanese 5S system we call as Kaizen. Continuous improvement is regularly assessing diversity metrics and making adjustments to actually enhance the effectiveness of all the diversity initiatives. So please note, if this continuous improvement is not efficient, this act or this activity is not happening on a continuous and consistent basis, all these parameters which we have discussed might fall. So basically it's like, when you talk about communication, what is the relevance of a feedback or feedback loop? This is exactly that, what you see. We also tend to look into the objectives of diversity management. Why we have, or what are the key aspects of diversity management that actually lure us or attract us for the same. Now we will look categorically into the objectives of diversity. When I'm talking about the key objectives of diversity management, again, taking the cue from the previous slide, it should promote inclusion and equity. There is no doubt about it that the primary objective is to create an environment where all the employees feel actually valued, they feel included, regardless of their context, regardless of their circumstances, regardless of their race, gender, age, ethnicity, sexual orientation or ability. So this totally involves implementing policies that actually promote fairness and equal opportunities for all the employees. When you look into objectives of diversity management, again, enhancing organizational performance happens to be another significant objective. Diverse teams, actually, if you think about it, bring a variety of perspectives. That's why I mentioned or initiated the whole discussion with even cognitive diversity bringing into picture. So even bringing into picture cognitive diversity. So please do understand, diverse teams bring a variety of these perspectives that can actually lead to improved problem solving, creativity and innovation. So by leveraging these diverse viewpoints, let's say organizations can typically enhance overall performance and competitiveness in the market. You also have an objective of attracting and retaining the talent. A commitment to diversity can actually make, an organization more appealing to a broader range of audience. Companies that prioritize diversity often selectively attract top talent from various backgrounds, and that's a fact which can actually lead to a more skilled and dynamic workforce. Another significant objective of the diversity management would be to improve employee satisfaction and engagement. When employees actually feel included and respected, job satisfaction increases. That is already proved by research. So this typically, leads to higher engagement levels, lower turnover rates for that matter, and improved morale within the organization. And finally, if you look into objectives, you also have the ambition to foster culture competence. Diversity management aims to develop cultural awareness among employees, enabling them to work effectively in diverse teams. So this particular competence enhances collaboration and communication across different cultural backgrounds. Now, when you look into objectives of diversity management, you'll also see that it has a typical, feature of enhancing customer understanding. A diverse workforce can better understand and meet the needs of a diverse customer base. So the understanding can lead to a improved customer satisfaction and loyalty to that matter. When you look into objectives, you also see that there is compliance with the legal requirements. Implementing effective diversity management practices actually helps the organization to comply with various legal requirements related to discrimination and equal opportunity in the workplace. You can also see that diverse teams are more likely to generate innovative ideas due to their varied perspectives and experiences. So this particular objective, driving innovation orientation for that matter, aligns with the need for organizations to actually adapt quickly to changing market demands. You also see organizations, when you talk about diversity management, it contributes to building a culture that values respect, collaboration and open communication for that matter. So such a culture not only enhances employee relations but also attracts customers who value the CSR, the corporate social responsibility. And we also see finally that whenever you talk about diversity management, establishing clear diversity objectives allows this organization to measure progress over time. So regular assessments actually help to ensure accountability at all the levels of the organizations regardless of the diversity initiative. So this is the beauty of diversity management. By focusing on these objectives, organizations can create a more equitable workplace that not only benefits employees but categorically drives overall business success. So what we understand from diversity management, to put it plain and simple, effective diversity management goes beyond compliance. It seeks to leverage the strengths of a diverse workforce, no doubt about it, to drive organizational success and create a more inclusive workplace culture. So when you talk about diversity, you have to also talk about the importance of diversity in the workplace. We have seen the objectives of diversity management specifically. But what is the relevance of this diversity in workplace? Very quickly, you talk about diversity, a diverse workforce categorically brings together individuals, with varied perspectives and experiences. We have seen that, we have discussed that, fostering a culture of creativity and innovation. So please note that. Research indicates that, inclusive organizations are 1.7 times more likely to lead in innovation within their industry. So if you see, the intersection of different viewpoints actually results in fresh ideas and innovative solutions. Diverse teams, for that matter, are more effective at complex problem solving. According to Harvard Business Review, teams composed of diverse members can actually tackle challenges more efficiently than homogeneous teams. When you talk about diversity, you have to also understand that employees who work in inclusive environments tend to feel more valued and connected to their organization. So this particular sense of belonging, sense of ownership leads to higher levels of engagement and typically the job satisfaction. If you look into the broader talent pool, when you look into diversity as such, prioritizing diversity actually expands the recruitment pool, allowing organizations to attract top talent from various backgrounds. So a diverse workforce not only enhances the company's image, but also helps in meeting the expectations of increasingly diverse workforce. So research again helps here. It shows that 67% of the workers consider diversity when seeking employment opportunities. Generally, we see, or we at least have the notion that diversity is not that relevant. It is only a buzzword, or a sense of tokenism is given for the employer, but that's not the case. When you talk about diversity, you have to also acknowledge and appreciate the possibility of better decision making. Diverse teams make better decisions due to their ability to consider different perspectives which we have seen and challenge each other's assumptions. That's a big thing. Many a time when you talk about homogeneous groups or groups where groupthink is there, possibly you cannot actually come out with diverse ideas, and also one idea, there is a chance that one significant idea will have a prevalence or will try to prevail over other. So studies suggest that inclusive teams can improve decision making by up to 30% in high diversity environments. So this actually leads to more informed and effective business strategies. So when you talk about diversities, there are other benefits too. There is a possibility of reduction in employee turnover. I don't know whether you have taken heed of the recent developments in the workforce across the world. Organizations that foster diversity and inclusion typically experience lower employee turnover rates. So when employees actually feel accepted, when they feel valued, they are less likely to seek opportunities elsewhere. This stability actually allows companies to save on recruitment costs and to retain the institutional knowledge. So many a time during my research also in knowledge management specifically, we tend to use a term institutional memory. So as part of my research, I do a lot of research in knowledge hiding for that matter. When we look into knowledge and the sharing of knowledge, let's say there is an organization and there's a certain team which is well experienced, which have been trained across the organization, and they are well equipped to handle any sort of crisis or any sort of pressure for that matter. But once they move out, if they are not transferring the acquired knowledge to the rest of the team, or say rest of the people who are going to replace them, the problem is that the other team or the new team has to start everything from the scratch. And the basic problem here lies with the damage that it caused to the institutional memory. Had that knowledge been shared by the team to the successive team, it would have been a case in point that they can start from where they actually left. But the problem here is that since this knowledge is not transferred properly, there has been, maybe it could be a number of reasons. Maybe there was no effective platform of sharing knowledge. There was no portal, or there was no channel to actually share knowledge, or maybe the attitude or the personality of the people, the team, totally the cultural perspectives, all this would have motivated them not to share. Or maybe, as our research says, that they might be apprehensive, or they might be of the opinion that, okay, we learned the hard way, why not they also learn it the hard way? So there are multifarious possibilities, but again, who is at the losing end is the organization. Organization has lost what otherwise would have been the beautiful institutional memory. So institutional memory is something a person A moves out of the organization, he or she documents what is going to happen, or what has been he doing over the years, or what is his experience to deal with things, or different jobs, different work parameters, etc. It would be handy for the people who are replacing him or her. So this institutional memory is vital, and specifically when we talk about diversity, it is a good aspect whereby there might be some cultural apprehensions actually coming into the organization. They belong to a different culture, suddenly talking to them, or sharing ideas, or asking for knowledge. All these things might be not so common. So in those situations, typically there is a possibility that if there is proper documentation, institutional memory will help. So I just wanted to have digress from the topic, discuss something with respect to institutional memory, with respect to diversity. Coming back to diversity management, when we look into diversity specifically, we have seen that it enhances company reputation. When we talk about company reputation specifically, we have to understand that companies known for their commitment to diversity often enjoy a positive reputation among customers, clients, and potential employees. So this particular reputation can enhance brand loyalty, can enhance or attract a wider customer base, as consumers increasingly prefer to engage with socially responsible business. When you look into a diverse workforce, it enhances an organization's cultural competence also, enabling it to be or to better understand and serve a diverse clientele. Employees from different backgrounds can provide insights, into the needs and preferences of various demographic groups, leading to improved customer satisfaction. There's also a possibility of financial performance, improved financial performance. Numerous research studies have shown a correlation between diversity and financial performance, interestingly. Now, companies with diverse leadership teams tend to outperform their competitors financially as they are better positioned to meet the needs of diverse markets. For instance, research by BCG found that the companies with high diversity scores generated 19% more revenue than those with lower scores. Also, if you look into diversity, embracing diversity contributes to broader societal goals by promoting equity and reducing the inequality within the workplace. So, organizations that prioritize diversity actually demonstrate a commitment to social responsibility, which can enhance employee morale and public perception for that matter. So, diverse teams are more innovative, they are more productive and better equipped to solve problems benefiting both the organization and its employees. Now, let's come into the crux of today's discussion, role of AI in diversity and inclusion. When you talk about AI, there are certain critical AI tools nowadays that are used to enhance diversity efforts by analyzing data, identifying the bias and recommending data-driven solutions for creating a more inclusive work environment. We have talked about this identifying bias factor. We'll detail all these parameters in the coming modules, but please do understand, artificial intelligence in diversity management actually refers to the application of AI technologies and tools to enhance the diversity, equity and inclusion, the DEI principles. So, DEI initiatives within the organization, if that can be improved with the provision or with the inclusion or with the initiation of AI, nothing like that. So, by leveraging data-driven insights or let's say machine learning algorithms, AI can actually help identify the biases, if any. It can certainly optimize the recruitment processes and foster a more inclusive workplace culture. So, let's answer why AI matters in D&I. When you look into AI, AI can actually identify patterns of discrimination if there is something. It can recommend changes to hiring processes and provide continuous feedback on workplace diversity efforts, ensuring that these organizations remain totally inclusive. When we talk about leveraging AI for diversity management, the first and the foremost thing which I underlined was bias reduction in recruitment. When you talk about AI tools, some of them can analyze, job descriptions and recruitment process to identify and eliminate biased language that may deter diverse candidates. So, let's say for instance, platforms like Textio optimize job postings to ensure that they are inclusive. They make them more appealing to a wider range of applicants. So, when you look into the skill part, focusing on the skills and qualifications, that is a priority rather than just mere skimming through demographic factors. So, AI promotes merit-based hiring practices. This is what is the key result of AI inclusion in diversity management. When you look into things like automated resume screening or blind recruitment tools, please do understand that AI can analyze resumes while minimizing bias related to gender, ethnicity or socioeconomic background by using algorithms that focus on skills and qualifications rather than demographic information. Also, there are AI systems that can anonymize applications, stripping out some identifiable information to level the playing field during the initial stages of recruitment. So, many a time what happens when the human element is present, there are chances of bias. Let's say you have somebody being scrutinized, he or she happens to have some alignment or some closeness or some relation to you in terms of your region, sex, religion, whatever biases you have towards that candidate, that will be reflected in the screening process, either in a positive way or in a negative way. But the fact is, I'm not telling that this is good or bad, but the thing is, there is a lack of fair process that is happening. So, AI typically enables that fairness, enhances that transparency and increases the accountability totally. When you look into blind recruitment tools, you can see this AI, systems actually, anonymizing applications, actually stripping out some identifiable information so that there is a level playing field. And finally, everything, as I discussed, happens on a merit-based scenario. When you look into leveraging AI for diversity management, you have to also understand that there is a possibility of enhanced data analytics. AI can analyze vast amounts of employee data to identify patterns related to diversity and inclusion. So let's take an example. It can highlight, let's say, disparities in promotions or pay among different demographic groups. Sometimes if an organization is knowingly or unknowingly, intentionally or unintentionally doing it or undertaking it, it can actually cause some red flags. It can actually raise some red flags, helping organizations actually set measurable diversity goals. So when you are looking into such organizations where diversity metrics are used, AI can typically analyze those employee demographics and identify trends or gaps in representation, helping these organizations to actually set measurable diversity goals. So when you are looking into surveys and sentiment analysis, please note that AI-driven tools can actually analyze employee feedback on diversity initiatives, pinpointing areas of concern or improvement. When you look into other factors of leveraging AI for diversity management specifically, you have to also look into the bias training and education. And when you talk about AI-driven platforms that can assess employee skills and learning preferences, providing tailored training programs that promote diversity and typical inclusion. So this typically, if you ask me, ensures that employees from diverse backgrounds receive the support they need for career advancement. And this is vital, specific to personalized learning and simulation and virtual reality. Let's look into that. AI can actually create tailored training programs aimed at reducing unconscious bias and promoting cultural competency among employees when it comes to personalized learning. When it comes to simulation and VR, virtual reality, employing AI for immersive training experiences that put employees in diverse scenarios to actually foster empathy and understanding. There could be also possibility of inclusive work environment promotion. When you talk about something like AI, it can assist in training programs focused on culture sensitivity and unconscious bias, helping employees understand the importance of diversity and fostering an inclusive workplace culture totally. So you look into ERGs, employee resource groups, their support. AI can actually analyze participation and engagement in ERGs, suggesting different ways to actually enhance their effectiveness or identify underrepresented groups. And if you look into real-time interaction analysis, we'll see that AI tools can actually monitor the communication platforms to identify diverse participation and the use of language. So the point is it typically fosters an open atmosphere. You also have the possibility of retention and advancement analysis coming as an aspect of leveraging AI. When you look into AI technologies such as chatbots that can actually facilitate communication between employees and HR, allowing for a very easier reporting of diversity-related concerns or suggestions for improvement. So this typically enhances engagement by making employees actually feel heard and valued, which is otherwise missing. You look into the career progression tracking. AI can help analyze data related to promotions and salaries increases to identify any discrepancies among diverse groups, allowing for equitable practices. Many a time you'll agree with me when I say that the promotions are all such initiatives. Promotions or all such career progressions happen on a basis of bean counting, on a basis of, let's say, the closeness with the manager or the authority. So it removes objectivity out of picture. What happens specifically is that just for the sake of promotion, you gather something and then you have a very close tie with your supervisor or whoever is going to recommend you for the post. Then things fall in place. But unfortunately, the people who are hardworking, they actually tremendously work for organizations. They do suffer in these cases. So when you look into AI, we can typically leverage AI for career progression tracking. Look into those aspects whereby an employee is actually adding value to the organization. Is he known among his counterparts, not only within the organization, but outside? Whether he or she is aware of, or let's say, latest technologies or changing trends or aspects, or is he or she ready to update? All these aspects can be easily captured if you actually leverage AI for this matter. So career progression tracking is also equally beneficial. So are exit interviews. Many a time exit interviews land up just as a formality. But more than that, objectively, if you actually analyze those exit interviews and those outcomes of these exit interviews, you will get to understand what is wrong with the organization if there is something, what is right with the organization if there is something. So this gives a clear identification. Many a time what happens, the people who are actually going to leave organization, they are more open. They are ready to talk. They are actually more ready or willing to talk rather than people who are there in the system. They might have n number of apprehensions otherwise to talk about, though they are also loaded with ideas. But the thing is, exit interviews do have a certain level of power or potential to actually show what the organization, what is the state of the organization at this point in time. So this particular scenario of leveraging AI for the purpose, it brings in objectivity, it takes out the human angle. There is no negativity, no negative references, no negative connotation for the particular employee as well as the organization. So it is more on a constructive criticism part, and this can actually enhance organization. When you look into AI-driven decision support system, this is yet another important thing. You specifically talk about AI that can actually provide decision support by offering objective insights during performance evaluations or promotion considerations, as I mentioned. So when you talk about collaborative tools, AI can analyze, can actually facilitate, demographic, diverse teamwork by matching individuals with complementary skills and perspectives or projects, typically promoting teamwork across varied backgrounds. There are also possibilities of predictive analytics for future diversity. There are also possibilities of predictive analytics for future diversity. Let's say, by analyzing past hiring patterns and industry benchmarks, AI can help predict future diversity outcomes, allowing for proactive strategies. Now let's look into the challenges and considerations what we have. As I mentioned many a time, it's unconscious bias, unequal representation in leadership roles, and difficulties in measuring diversity efforts. So basically, we have to address this. Let's look into one by one. Let's look into the problem of data privacy. Organizations must ensure that this employee data, whatever is collected, is protected and used ethically. So one is being protected and another is it is used ethically. So what happens is that the use of employee data for AI analysis raises privacy issues that need careful considerations. Similarly, if you look into AI systems, they must be regularly audited to prevent perpetuation of existing biases. So there is a possibility that algorithmic bias could be there. So if not properly managed, AI systems themselves may perpetuate existing biases present in the training data. Most of the lectures I tend to say this, and I repeat here too. AI and ML models are only as good as the data in which it is trained. So when you look into algorithmic bias, AI systems must be regularly audited to prevent perpetuations of this existing biases. When you look into the typical cultural fit versus cultural add, AI should ensure that diversity is not merely about fitting into existing workplace cultures, but about enriching the organizational values. Organizations must ensure that their use of AI typically aligns with ethical standards and promotes genuine inclusivity rather than typically or merely fulfilling compliance requirements. So if we finally tend to conclude the whole discussion, using AI in diversity management actually plays a transformative role in diversity management, by providing tools that enhances the recruitment process, what we have seen. It promotes equitable opportunities, foster an inclusive workplace culture. So by leveraging this data-driven insights and minimizing biases in decision-making process, organizations can typically create a more diverse workforce. But that said, many a time what we understand or what we generally see is that in the quest for this diversity or in the quest for leveraging AI, many a time we tend to compromise with the ethical standards. So sometimes you have seen that there are certain inherent biases. We tend to overlook that. There are certain oversights which actually does not work well for the organization. So please note that whenever you are looking into leveraging AI for diversity management, there is no denying the fact that diversity management is must. We need people from all walks of life. As I discuss in generally my OB classes, it takes all types of people to make the world. Individual differences are there. Those differences actually add value to what you are doing. What is the task the organization is up to? What your team is suggesting, not only the demographic but also the cognitive diversity. But when you look into leveraging AI, in the fast-paced world, there is always a possibility of overlooking at certain things like the bias which I was mentioning. The inherent data itself is having that bias, then the whole model becomes wrong or flawed. So that should be your concern, specifically the ethical standards that AI actually manages in diversity management. So on that note, we'll end the class today. We'll look more into AI in human resource management in the coming lectures. Till then, take care. Bye-bye.